Just let me qualify something here before I start the video. If you believe in God and you have faith and you walk by faith and you walk by belief in a God, well, I am in no way attacking that belief. That's up to you. The claims that I'm going to talk about here, I see them expressed in documents that people are sending to the government. And I see individuals on YouTube with YouTube channels selling these types of documents and encouraging people to listen to them and follow them because they say that their religious belief and their belief system is the way to obtain freedom. I see these concepts manifested and brought forth in documents such as the Living Trust or documents attached to a UCC claim, bringing forth the same claims that I'm about to share with you here. I claim that the laws of nature are the laws of God. I claim that God's power and authority cannot be superseded by anyone on earth. I claim that a legislator must not obstruct our obedience to God. I claim that all human constitutions which contradict His laws, God's laws, we have the right to disobey. And now, therefore, I make this declaration and claim of right to secure my private law regarding my Creator-given fundamental rights. I claim at all times to be able to exercise my Creator God-given rights. I claim that these God-given rights cannot be abrogated by any government or any individual without my informed and voluntary consent. It is my sincere intention, according to my Creator God's will, to be obedient to the laws of men and government as long as those laws do not contradict my Creator God's supreme laws. So in essence, right, what is being brought forth in the claim of right here and what is being expressed to the government here, this happens in Canada and this is happening in the United States of America. The same claims, the same artificially made up operations of law are finding themselves into the paperwork of many individuals who are trying to exercise what they understand to be natural rights or human rights, who understand that statutory law is not the primary law. This is what people are being taught to say to the government. I will be obedient to the laws of man and of the government as long as they do not go against my private law. Between me and my Creator, the legislator has no power to obstruct my private law between my Creator God. I can disobey all laws that contradict my private law between me and my Creator God. No one can supersede my private laws, which are between me and the Creator God. I can exercise my private law between me and God, and no constitution and no government can ever stop me. That's the operations of law that people are being suckered into sending to the government, and are being told that if you lay these claims before the government, then you will checkmate the government and you will be able to stand on your natural rights. You'll be able to stand on your human rights, and you'll be able to get millions and millions of dollars if you take this position before the government. Those operations of law are a bunch of hogwash. That's what they are. And I'm sorry to be so blunt about it, but it's true. If you have any understanding concerning foundational law and ground law and statutory law, when you read that paragraph, it should make you shudder inside of yourself, realizing that people are being deceived and tricked into believing that they can create private law between them and God, and that private law must be respected by the government. Why? Well, because they claim it. And they say so. And here in Canada, those people, those individuals that are putting forth these documents and these operations of law and these precepts, and you know who you are. And I'm not going to name you on this channel, but these individuals, right, they'll back up this paragraph of law by going to the charter and say, look what Canada says, that they recognize the supremacy of God. Therefore, they must recognize your private law between you and God. And that's a straw man argument. And that's a misrepresentation of the government's position. They're adding to what the preamble says. They're adding their own understanding in order to support their position. And guess what? Many individuals are buying into their position. They're buying into their position mentally, and they're buying into their position with dollar bills to get these documents because they believe. They believe what they're being told. They believe the straw man argument. And in the States, this same thing is going on. People are being taught to lay these claims to the government, claiming that they have private law, that they have to follow God, and the government can't do nothing about it. And then they'll tell them, look at the Amendment 1 to the U.S. Constitution. It says, Congress shall make no law respecting an establishment of religion. And they'll say, well, you see, Congress can't make no law against your religion, against your religious belief. So therefore, claim what I'm telling you to claim. Well, the First Amendment of the U.S. Constitution, right, what it is saying is that Congress is not allowed to promote one religion over another religion. They shall make no laws that respects an establishment of religion above another. That's what the amendment means, not what you're being told. The courts have said here in Canada, belief, religious activity, and association is a protected freedom under Charter Section 2. However, Canadian courts recognize that as a restricted freedom, that is subordinate, which means it can be limited or abridged to such reasonable limits prescribed by law as can be demonstrably justified in a free and democratic society. The Supreme Court of Canada has been explicit that religious beliefs do not trump the right of government to organize and regulate Canadian society. Well, that's exactly against what your teacher is teaching you, right? What the popular guy on the YouTube is teaching you, what the UCC guys are teaching you, what the Living Trust are teaching you. They're bringing a straw man forth. They're misrepresenting the government's position. They're saying if you claim your private law, your private rights between you and God, then the government must submit to those claims. But here the Supreme Court of Canada is saying the opposite. It's saying your religious beliefs do not trump the right of the government to create laws and to force you into subjection to those laws. They're using a straw man argument, whether willfully or unknowingly, and they're causing you to believe in a straw man argument and then to create documents and to make claims against a misrepresentation of the government's position. When we look into international law, we find the principle of justice concerning the freedom of thought, conscience, and religion in Article 18 of the International Covenant on Civil and Political Rights, where it says that everyone shall have the right to freedom of thought, conscience, and religion. And then it goes on to say in subsection 3, freedom to manifest one's religion or beliefs may be subject to only such limitations as are prescribed by law and are necessary to protect public safety, order, health, or morals, or the fundamental rights and freedoms of others. So what it's teaching us is that if you claim a freedom of religion, well, your freedom of religion can be limited and abridged. That's why when you look in the Charter of 1982, you find it under Article 2, where it says everyone has the following fundamental freedoms: freedom of conscience and freedom of religion. And we just saw, right, where the Supreme Court of Canada said your freedom of religion can be limited. It can be abridged. When we look to the laws themselves, never mind what Joe Blow is saying, when we look to the laws themselves, right, to find the principle of justice, we see that our beliefs and our claims about what we believe about God is not a magical key to escape being regulated, to escape being classified as a statutory creature, to have their laws applied against you. And they will say to you, and they will bring the argument and the premise before you. They'll say, look, in the Charter of Rights and Freedoms, in the preamble, it states this, whereas Canada is founded upon principles that recognize the supremacy of God and the rule of law. And then they'll qualify it for you. And they'll say, you see, they recognize the supremacy of God. Therefore, I say unto you, and I tell you, that if you claim your private rights and your private law between you and God, that they lose their ability to regulate you. It's your magic key. Yes, it is. Look, it's right there in the law. It's a straw man argument. They're saying the opposite to what the Supreme Courts have said and what the courts have declared. They're telling you, because of that preamble, that it places Canada under the obligation to respect your claims between you and God, when Canada and the courts have said, no, it doesn't. The preamble to the Charter provides an important element in defining Canada, but recognition of the supremacy of God placed in the supreme law of Canada goes no further than this. It prevents the Canadian state from becoming officially atheistic. It does not make Canada a theocracy. So they're telling you, right, it's your magic key. If you claim the supremacy of God, if you claim your rights between you and God, if you claim your laws are between you and God, you force the government to respect your claims. But the courts have said, no, it does not. Now, who are you going to listen to? Canada will unilaterally apply its statutory laws against you, only subject to the Charter, to the rights that are brought forth in the Charter, and by default, the rights that are secured in international law. A claim that a relationship between an individual and the state is always one of contract is clearly incorrect. But the state has the right to engage in unilateral action against you, subject to the Charter, not subject to your claims about God, not subject to your belief about God, but subject to the Charter. Well, I don't like that, and it shouldn't be like that. Well, too bad. That's the way it is. And if you don't wake up, and if you don't see it, and if you keep making those private claims and claims like that, you're just walking into a brick wall. You're going to get nowhere. And eventually, what happens if you walk into a brick wall enough times? You're going to hurt yourself. And let me tell you, in the court decisions that are out there now, you play around with the UCC, you play around with the Living Trust, and you send these documents to the CRA, you're gonna get hit with a hefty fine. And what's good for the goose, right, is good for the gander. Because in the US Constitution, Amendment 1, there are people that are teaching you and telling you and getting you to create documents claiming your private rights and your private law, and God's the only one in authority over you, and saying you have that right because of the First Amendment. They're misrepresenting the government's position, and you're buying into it. You're believing the straw man that they're bringing forth. Congress shall make no law respecting an establishment of religion. And again, that means they will not make any law that respects one religion over another religion, that will prefer one religion over another religion. But what is religion? In law, what is religion? Someone's belief system. So they can believe anything they want, right? And it forces the Congress to recognize it. No, religion has a definite meaning within the law. in the United States of America. And I'll give you a few examples. The Mormons are a religion. The Seventh-day Adventists are a religion. The Catholic Church is a religion, according to law. And there are going to be some who are going to be stubborn here. Stubborn with me because they don't like what I'm saying. And they're going to say, look, prohibiting the free exercise thereof. So I have the free exercise of my religion. Therefore, the government can't do nothing to me. If I exercise my rights by claiming my relationship between God, if I create my private law between me and God, well, Congress can't prohibit my free exercise of my religion. That's what it says, right? All right, let me ask you a question. If a Satanist, right, a real Satanist, wants to go and sacrifice a child in public, will the law let him do it? No, right? Oh, well, what just happened there? Just went against your belief, right? Just went against your straw man, right? You just told me that Congress cannot prohibit the free exercise of your religion, of any religion. But now you're just confronted, right, with a situation where yes, they will. Yes, they will prohibit the free exercise of the religion. And I know that's a drastic example, but I used it on purpose to show you that what you're being told about the fact that you can claim your rights and your private law between you and God and Congress can't do nothing about it. It's not true. So if someone comes to you talking about rights and freedoms, talking about the fact that you're under the control of the government and you don't have to be, and we have the way out, we have the magic key, and they give you some documents and you start to look in those documents and you start seeing these concepts in the documents, you better be aware of what's going on and you better get yourself out of there. You better escape from these individuals. When you start seeing things like this, I will be obedient to the laws of man and government as long as they do not go against my private law. That's between me and my God. When they start talking about private law and creating private law and law between you and God and rights between you and God, and I can disobey all laws that contradict my private law between me and God. And no one, no government, no power can supersede my private laws between me and God. And I can exercise my private law between me and God. And no constitution and no government can ever stop me, but owes me the obligation. Because they got to respect that I'm in relationship with God. You better get out of there. You better run from these people. In making these claims, such as the Living Trust or the UCC Trust, in making these claims, what they're calling their claim of rights, they're not acknowledging the government's position. They're misrepresenting the government's position. They're telling you the opposite to what is transpiring within the law. And then they're telling you, this is how you defeat it. This is how you take it down. Make your claims. Make your claims about God. Make your claims about the living Creator. And that will be your private law. And the government will have to respect it. And you'll be free from them. You can claim all you want. And you can claim anything you want. But just by making a claim and declaring something to be true because you think it's true, right? It doesn't produce an obligation upon anyone to perform based upon your claim. So recognition. Let's look at this for a moment, because I'm about to end this video here. It says an acknowledgement of something's existence, validity, or legality. So what is recognition? When we talk about a claim of recognition, what are we talking about? That we're going to make some claims, and you, government, you're going to have to recognize it. I'm going to make some claims about God and a relationship with God, and you're going to have to respect it, government. Is that what we're saying in recognition? Or are we going to recognize something? Are we going to acknowledge something's existence, something's legality that's already there, that they're already under obligation? I'm not claiming to ask the government to recognize. I'm claiming that I already recognize